Okay. Welcome back to solo role Mangging. Shadow of the Weird Wizard. Generic Hexcrawl number 6279. Things are progressing pretty well. Yeah, if this were a real campaign, I think these two players would be pretty happy with themselves and what they've accomplished. So far, we saved a little boy by going into a nest of giant centipedes. We instigated a war between a camp of orcs and a camp of goblins, effectively wiping out both factions and saving the village from the perpetual tributes or taxes. And we've investigated and practically wiped out a sect of a very dangerous and eldritch cult belonging to the Pact of Consumption, which was all pretty fun, to be honest. And in the process, we got some magic items, finally. That's great. So we got the leather armor of assistance once per day. Basically, both of us get one boon on all attribute rolls for 1 minute, which is basically there's attribute rolls and there's luck rolls. Those are the two things. So anything that's not a luck roll, boon for 1 minute, a whole combat. It's pretty good. I'm pretty sure that was an action to enable, which makes it not super amazing, but much like his Rune of War or whatever it was, it's like a pre-combat buff. You know you're going to be getting into some shit. We also got the Doll of Blasting, which has 3 charges, and only 3 charges. Has range 15, does 2d6 damage, and then I can roll any attribute I want versus their agility to do an extra 2d6 damage. It's not amazing, and it's very rare that he's going to use it in comparison to just using his bow. Yeah, I don't know when you'd really use this. Because his bow... Well, I guess, yeah. His bow with trickery does 3d6 within 20. With the Rune of War, it's 4d6. And once he gets bonus damage, assuming he does, that'll be 4d6. So yeah, it's not super great. Maybe at level 1 it's pretty useful, but even then. But we also picked up a Eldritch Tome, the Devoratio Magnus, which I've already forgotten what that means. Hold on, I got logged out at ChatGPT, which had all the answers. That was... Oh, it's just titled The Great Consumption. Okay, yeah. And so we went back to home. We went back to our homes, and we slept, so we get our shit back. Always good to be at full numbers, full spells, full everything. Not that we used a whole lot, but hey, harmful syllable. We love that. And certain outcome. Very good. And we use that. And he does heal. Even though I think that was from a prior day. Maybe, yeah, I think it was. So, irrelevant. Yeah, you heal all damage whenever you rest. And you heal, I think it's like 1d6 health if you've lost any health. And, you know, you don't lose much health. If you don't go down, you're not really losing much health. If you go down, yeah, you're losing health constantly. But most things, there are some spells that do health damage. Poison as an affliction does health damage, and then basically any trap. The GM book has just a slew of traps, example traps for you, and all sorts of traps, and things like that. And those basically all do health damage. So they're meant to wear you down throughout a dungeon, so that you don't just keep like ping-pong, you know. It's like, oh, I'm at I've taken 15 points of damage, now I've taken 0 points of damage, now I've taken 12 points of damage, now I'm at 0 damage, you know, and so on and so forth. So traps and things like that, other effects are meant to whittle you down, so it's just like, yeah, I can't keep going, we have to go rest for a bit. Anyways, so now we want to wrap up this whole curse thing, right? And Balance argues that the best way for her to do that is to study this dark tome. And, you know, I think Truco is already a little scared of her. You know, he sees what she can do already. She can just... She's casting all-consuming fires of hell. You know, she's extremely capable. And now she can just shout and just kill things. Just everything, you know. Because when he took his fingers out of his ear at that mansion, and he just hears like death and silence all around him. Like every creature, every bug is just dead, and it's just like, geez, who am I really traveling with? So I think he is a little scared of her already. But he probably has to concede that yes, it is probably their most immediate, expedient way to resolve this curse, is it within that tome. So he's not going to put up too much fuss about it, just telling her to be careful. And this is where I would incorporate corruption mechanics. And if you're curious, if you haven't played Shadow of the Demon Lord, and you should, but if you haven't, corruption in Demon Lord is a stat. It's a numerical score. You usually start the game at 0, and you gain it. It says usually as a result of performing an act of great evil, as determined by the GM or the rules. Examples include murder, harming an innocent by spreading a disease, poisoning a well, or being reckless with magic, stealing for personal gain, learning spells from dark traditions, using certain artifacts. As your corruption score increases, you suffer increasingly unpleasant effects. So once you get to like 4 corruption, you actually start interacting with all other creatures with 1 bane socially. And animals become hostile around you. Children might cry. Once you get 7 corruption, it actually makes it easier for you to die. The dying rules are different, I won't get into it, but it makes it easier for you to die once you're incapacitated. And you start exhibiting a physical sign of corruption on your body. Once you hit 9, you immediately die if you become incapacitated. So if you hit max damage or whatever, if you go down, you immediately die, and you cannot be restored to life as your soul is trapped in hell. Which is fun. Also, whenever you gain corruption, you have to roll 2d6. These might be old rules. I don't know. I think this may have become a d20. Actually, this chart says d20. Why does it say... Oh, no, okay. No, that might be still correct. So you roll 2d6. If the total is less than your new corruption score, then you get a mark of darkness. You have to roll on this d20 table. And there's a bunch of stuff, a lot of it's like physical things related, like a pair of horns grows from your forehead, or you weep blood, or your nose just rots away, leaving a dark crater in your face that leaks bloody mucus. Demon Lord is obviously, again, a much darker system than Weird Wizard. Much darker in tone. So if we wanted to incorporate corruption, we could start doing that. And when I made my sort of homebrew thing, Shadows of Adventure, that was largely based on Demon Lord, I took the corruption and insanity mechanics because I like that kind of stuff. But shoehorning it into Weird Wizard, not really necessary. I mean, if you have players that like all that and are interested in getting corrupted and playing with the corruption and insanity mechanics, you're probably better off just playing Shadow the Demon Lord. It's a very good system. Yeah, Weird Wizard does a few things, I think, better than it. A few things better than, like, the being able to combine fighters with spell casting, I think, is a little bit better in Weird Wizard compared to Demon Lord. And the initiative system arguably is better. The reaction system, various attack options, and the bonus damage system, stuff like that. But Demon Lord's still very good. Like, I would never turn down playing Shadow the Demon Lord. But anyways, I digress. I don't think it's really worth me incorporating the corruption mechanics here. So I'm not going to do anything mechanically for her studying this tome, but we're going to work through it with role-playing, that she's continuing down kind of a darker path here. And especially, it's especially dangerous when you use a dark path. You use, you know, something from the dark side to accomplish something good. Because that really reinforces your sort of preconceptions and beliefs that what I'm doing is right. You know, it doesn't matter how I accomplish it. It just matters that I accomplish it. So, by using the tome to help lift the curse, she's doing a good thing, but not in the best way. Okay, so a couple days are going to go by as she studies this tome. And if I was DMing and the player was very interested in studying this tome extensively to try and learn as much as they can from it, I'd probably give them like an extra novice dark arts spell or something like that, or a talent, one of the two. Or maybe I'd let them discover the Eldritch tradition, because there's a concept. Here I go again. But there's a concept in RPGs that we never really did when I used to play, and I've never really incorporated as a DM, because it just feels kind of strange to like codify it and, you know, put it into mechanics and stuff. But that's the downtime concept, where basically, you know, you go out on a quest, and you are adventurers, you go out on a quest, you do the quest, and then you come back home to rest, or wherever. Or, you know, you go back to town, you go back to the city, blah, blah, blah. And there is a period of time then that everyone agrees upon before you do another quest. And that's where downtime activities take place. And it seems like this is a very popular thing nowadays. A lot of RPGs incorporate and codify downtime mechanics, including Shadow of the Weird Wizard. And there are various things that you can do here. And the reason that we never really did it, well, I mean, we did it, obviously. Like, there would be times where we'd go do some sort of quest or adventure or dungeon or something that was like, yes, we are not at a safe place right now. And then there would be times where we would then go back to a safe place. Not all the time. Sometimes you just go on to the next thing. But sometimes we would go back, and usually I would spend a chunk of time wanting to accomplish something. I mean, technically, like when we did this whole like multi-session thing to build an airship, that would be like a downtime activity. Technically, it wasn't codified anywhere because it didn't need to be. I just came up with blueprints for an airship, and my DM came up with all like the resources and labor that we would need, and so on and so forth, and we just went with it. Whereas nowadays, it seems like they gotta have mechanics. It has to be something very strict that tells you what you can accomplish during your downtime activity. And that just seems useless for me. But now that I say all that, I feel like if I told all that to my family when DMing for them, and I said, okay, now you're on downtime, and this will take as long as you guys want, during which you can do these activities, blah, 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 or blah, 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 you know? And they'd be like, oh, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And it's like, okay, I guess I get it. For somebody like that lacks creativity. But I don't know. So anyways, Weird Wizard, the options for downtime. You can do all sorts of stuff, obviously, but these are the mechanical things that you can do, and your DM will have to accept. You can learn any language, as long as it's not a secret one, or if it is a secret one, if you have access to someone who knows it and is willing to teach it. You can get professional training, so you can learn a new profession, like politician. You can discover a tradition, which is pretty big, and it actually takes 2 downtime periods to do. But if you do it that way, you don't discover a talent. So you just learn the tradition, and then from there you can pick spells from it if you level up and get spell choices. You can do activity training related to a specific attribute, and whenever you would next fail on a roll using that attribute, you can re-roll. And that's once at novice, twice as expert, 3 times as a master. And then finally, you can retrain. So that's re-picking like a talent or a fighting style, or something like that. You can swap it out for a different thing. Which seems kind of wild, but sure. You can also shop, and they state here that that's an option for you, is shopping. You can also make connections with people. Okay. And then there's like various benefits possible for making a connection, like a financial connection. You can get money, influence, professional, information, resource, security. You can work. Yeah, you can just work. Which earns you enough coin to provide for yourself and your dependents until the next quest begins. So if you don't work, you are going to apparently have to spend money throughout the downtime period. I don't know how much it goes into that in this book, but yeah. And then you can possibly just roll to see if you have a life event. If you're just like, I don't know, I don't care, let me just roll something random. Then they have a bunch of life event tables. So you might have like a setback, you might get a windfall, you might have some sort of personal development. Some of these are mechanical, many of them are just role-playing or something, you know, or might be a potential option for like a future quest. And then, of course, you can craft, because what fantasy RPG would not have crafting in it? It's pretty simple. This is not like Pathfinder, where it has more extensive rules and feats and stuff. This is just, it requires a profession related to making the desired thing, and novice characters can produce about 5 gold pieces worth of items per 4 weeks of downtime. So yeah, crafting is something. I usually like the idea of it in tabletop RPGs. It doesn't happen too often. Because usually, it depends on the game, but usually you get money, you buy stuff, that's the end of money. Usually you're not sitting around crafting shit. But like I said, we don't have many like prescribed downtime periods in games that I run. I should probably try to do that more. But I don't know. I like I said, I like to run very kind of living games. Because I think that's how it should be done. I like to run games where things are happening in the background. Things progress. Yes, you could sit there and pass by 6 months if you want. But the world is not static. Things will change. And so, with that knowledge, you know, you're always a little iffy about waiting around and spending large amounts of time, which makes sense. I mean, how many movies does that happen in where characters are just like, I don't know, I feel like just kind of I'm just going to work for the next 6 months, all right? And then we'll get back out there. We'll get back on the saddle. It's like, no, you're constantly doing something. I don't know. Maybe it's different strokes for different folks. What am I talking about? Right. We were talking about studying this tome. So basically, like 2 days go by, during which Truco is working, basically. And the curse does progress a little bit more. Pretty much all farmsteads in Hoopstead are now afflicted. And there's still a good amount of food that's not cursed. You know, people had stores. They're not just waiting for the crop to come in so they can eat again. So, you know, I mean, there's still plenty of food, but people are a little iffy. The priest, Father Bastion, is doing a lot of work out there to really try and convince them that this is a blessing, this is a good thing. Like I said, he does not know that the rest of his cult brothers have fallen. So he's still business as usual, trying to convert everyone and get them to eat this wonderful, wonderful bounty. And so, like, the first family that got afflicted, they're now kind of just eating everything. Like, they're starting to, like, eat the walls of their house and stuff like, you know, like, they're just munching on. If you went there now, there would be very little furniture sort of left, kind of thing. So they might be too far gone, and we'll just have to put them down. It may get to that, but we need to decide as a DM, how is this curse getting lifted? My initial thought last time was obviously something sort of heinous, like a sacrifice of an innocent or something. And I think that's still a reasonable idea. But I think that we want to turn this into a bit more of an adventure, so to speak. We want to turn this into a kind of a quest. We're going to have to go somewhere to get some sort of object or item or material that we can use to create the anti-curse, you know? And I don't think the book sort of specifically spells out, like, this is how you would remove the curse if you suddenly decided you don't like the cult. Yeah, it's more just like Balance is using her intellect to intuit and work backwards and sort of put this together herself. As usual, be a fan of the characters. I'm going to ask ChatGPT just to see if it has any thoughts on the matter. Okay, so I was leaning more towards like a natural ingredient, like something off of a creature. But ChatGPT went for a kind of relic. The Starved Glass Chalice. Okay. This is basically like if we want to go into a dungeon. The thing is, it's like, why would this happen to be nearby? You know, this relic, this sort of holy relic, to be honest, that could be used to undo this horrible curse, and just happens to be nearby. I don't know. I don't know. Here you go. Now, there you go. That's more something that can work. The Gullet Pearl. A rare lustrous orb that forms inside the stomach of a devouring worm. A magical creature infamous for consuming everything in its path. Holds potent anti-consumptive properties due to its origin as a byproduct of endless hunger. Alchemists and mages prize it as a key component in breaking curses related to gluttony or insatiable consumption. Thank you, ChatGPT. This is an excellent idea. Now, here's where, okay, I'll step into DM mode. This is what I would say as the DM as the balanced player studying the tome. I'd say that obviously the tome does not contain a formula or ritual to remove the blessing of consumption, you know, because that would be ridiculous. It is a gift. But while studying it, you note that the tome does mention a rather glorified creature within the religion, known as a devouring worm. And these creatures are known for their sort of endless consumption and are believed to be kind of avatars of the Great Devourer here on this planet. And they normally reside in the Great Wastes, where they have, you know, consumed everything around them. But the tome does contain a ritual that you could cast to summon one of these things, to call it. And in its gullet is a magical pearl that has formed from years and years of compressed, indigestible materials. And it contains potent magic that likely could be used as part of an anti-curse ritual. So there you go. That's what I'd say. So now we have a solution. I mean, it's relatively clear to Balance that this would be a solution that she could use to then remove the curse. But they'd have to cast another dark ritual to call forth a devouring worm and then slay it in order to get its gullet pearl, and then cast a separate ritual to remove the curse. Yeah, that's certainly tricky. Again, I point to the notion that a single creature is never a threat. But what if she doesn't call a single creature? What if she calls 2 of them or 3 of them? I mean, she could wipe out this entire region with multiple devouring worms in the area. Keep in mind, I don't have stats ready for any of this. But yeah, certainly not something to be done lightly. But I really like it. I think that's great. And again, ChatGPT, I gotta give him a lot of freaking credit to for just being something to like bounce ideas off of or just provide ideas for you very nicely. So what's our plan of attack? We don't know a great deal about these creatures. By the name, we assume these to be like, you know, I assume them to be sort of like the sandworms from Dune. That's pretty much what I'm imagining here. Probably a bit smaller, maybe, but I don't know. Maybe not. What would the stats be for the fucking Shai Hulud? Someone has definitely done that in D&D. I guarantee it. Oh yeah, here we go. Great sandworm. Done. There's probably like 20 of these. So they put challenge rating 2. What? 42 hit points. Come on, this is like a larva of a sandworm. Get the fuck out of here. Well, there is the purple worm, I suppose, from D&D. Okay, so let's look at the purple worm, because this is sort of what I would imagine. These things are tough. These things are fucking tough. Challenge 15. 247 hit points, 18 armor class. They can burrow, obviously. Speed 50 feet, burrow 30 feet. They get 2 attacks per turn, plus 14 to hit, average 22 damage on the bite, and then you have to save or get swallowed. And then also has a tail stinger, plus 14 to hit, average 19 damage, and constitution save or take 42 poison damage on a failed save, half as much on a successful one. So needless to say, purple worms are fucking insane. But if I was going to map this directly, it would still be a fairly easy fight because they have an intellect of 1. -5. Which means Logic Prison would just destroy them. -5, and if we could get them with a Bane, if we get the brand of Cruelest Burning on him or something, and it make him intellect impaired, -5 with a Bane means that he'd have to roll at least a 16, and that's if his Bane is a 1. So at least a 16 to break out. It's pretty good. Now, the question is, do I want to try converting the purple worm? Or do we want to convert, or to just take, like, the Great Serpent here, difficulty 8. Certainly a lot weaker, but quite dangerous for level 2 characters, 2 level 2 characters. 120 health, 14 defense, gets 2 attacks per turn, each dealing, each at +5 with 1 boon, 4d6 or 3d6. It can poison, and its poison is fucking nasty. So anything it bites has to make a strength roll with 2 banes. On a failure, becoming poisoned, luck ends. And while poisoned in this way, you're stunned and lose 3d6 health every round. Terrifying. Also, as a reaction, whenever an enemy within 8 yards harms it, it gets to make a free tail attack against the enemy. And then at the end of every round, each enemy within 2 yards has to make an agility roll with 1 Bane. On a failure, the enemy becomes held until the Great Serpent dies. If the target was held in this way already, it loses 4d6 health and becomes weakened until the end of the next round. While held in this way, it moves with the Great Serpent when it moves. You can overcome this effect with an honest strength roll, but you roll with 1 Bane for each point of size you are smaller than the Great Serpent, and it's size 4. So you roll with 3 Banes to try and break out of the grab. This thing's fucking difficulty 8? But at the same time, it has an intellect of 9, so -1. It only has 14 defense and only 120 health. It doesn't impose any Banes on attacks. So assuming we logic prison it immediately, get the brand of Cruel's burning on it immediately, and then stand 20 yards back, or 15 yards back, it's pretty much a done deal. It's pretty much guaranteed. Do we want to do that every time? Is that just what this campaign is? It's just like... logic prison, destroy, 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 destroy. Occasional force barrier, destroy, destroy. I guess. I mean, if it works, right? If it works, why fuck with it? Now, a big problem, of course, is if we summon 2 Great Serpents. I can logic prison both of them, theoretically, although they are very fast, and if they get within range of us, we're pretty much fucked. But remember, the ritual that I explained was a calling, not a summoning. So they are coming from some sort of distance. Which really has its own problems. Where am I calling them from? How long does it take to get here? And what are they going to devour on the way here? But assuming we don't care about any of that, because all we care about is our village. Even though, like, hundreds of people could die in the process here as these things travel across the land. If we see more than one coming in the distance, you know, we can... I don't know. Come up with something. Come up with something. It's an iffy plan. I won't lie to you. There's a lot that can go wrong here. And, you know, I'm usually all about avoiding combat. And here I feel like I'm just inviting combat. Craving combat. And there's not... Yeah, I mean, I guess it comes down to that. How many am I calling? 1 is easy. Anything more is likely just death, to be honest. I can't outrun them. They're way too powerful for any sort of straight up fight. So... yeah, I guess we just have to see. Alright. So a couple days later, then Balance says that she has a plan. Theoretically. And so her and Truco head out to where the orc camp is, or was. I don't know if we decided if it's still there or not, or if the orcs are still there or not. I guess let's just do we'll just do a oracle roll straight up. Are the remaining orcs still at their camp? No. Okay, they've moved on. So it's an empty camp. You know, they took everything they could carry, so it's largely just ransacked. But it's still, I don't know, it's got some rudimentary walls that we could maybe hide behind if need be. And Balance will conduct her ritual to call forth the devouring worm. And I think this is going to have to be a roll. I think it's going to be an intellect roll to see how well she conducts the ritual. Which in that case, that's exactly what the balance player would want to hear, right? That the result of this is based on a roll and rather than luck. Or just DM choice. Because since it's a roll, we can use certain outcome. And we want to be certain about this outcome. Alright. It's done. We have crit on our roll to call forth the devouring worm. Now it's a matter of how long does it take? Probably a while, right? Based on our Hexcrawl map here, there's no, like, great wastes around or anything. So that's off the map. And each one of these hexes is 6 miles across. These things aren't twice as fast as humans, but they're close. So maybe it's like 40 minutes, or maybe they're coming at breakneck speed. Even if we say it takes them like 20 minutes to just drive forth, you know, and power their way towards us from wherever they are. That's still quite a while of time. You're looking at least a few hours. So I guess we wait around for a few hours. Even that seems like a short amount of time, but whatever. We'd probably notice that, wouldn't we? A size 4 creature barreling across the countryside towards us. I think we'd notice and or hear it. So I guess, yeah, we see it in the distance. And the ritual made no mention or claim of any kind that this creature is allied with us or anything like that. It is a great devourer. All it does is devour. And that's all it will do. So, yeah. So I guess when it's getting pretty close, you know, within like 50 yards or something, I guess we're going to cast Rune of War. On Truco's bow. That's about it. I mean, I could put it on her bow as well, but it doesn't really matter. I guess she'll activate the leather armor of assistance as her action. So we each get a boon on everything. Which means he gets a lot of boons. Then, when it's within 15 yards, I guess, which is pretty close, we will initiate combat by taking the initiative. And no, she'll take the initiative. He can't. He has to use his reaction. So she's just going to cast Logic Prison. And it becomes held. Okay. This first one doesn't matter too much if he breaks out immediately before he gets a Bane put on his intellect. But obviously we'd prefer if he didn't. So this is his overcome roll. D20 minus 1. Okay, he rolled a 20. There's not much I can do about that. So he broke out. He moves then 8. So he's now at 7 yards. And remember, if anyone harms him within 8 yards, he gets to make a free tail attack, so we don't want that. Devouring Worm. At 120 right now. So then, he's at 7 away from us. Truco then will step back 5. So he's 12. And then he'll fire. And he gets 3 boons, I think. Trickery is 1, Rune of War is 1, and the Leather Armor of Assistance is 1. So yeah, he gets 3 boons. But, you know, if he rolls a 1, it's still pretty shitty. So here we go. He rolled a 10, that's good enough. Because it only has a defense of 14. But it's not going to be any crit or anything. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Alright, so then, for 1 minute, he's going to be intellect impaired. And take an extra d6 for first hit each round. And it's taking 5d6. Correct. 15 damage to him. Okay, new round. Now, Balance is going to cast Logic Prison. I mean, she would back up, I guess, but it doesn't matter. She's not doing damage. So, but she'll back up, so now she's also at 12. And she'll cast Logic Prison again. Yeah, it doesn't really matter, I guess. Truco will back up as well, so now he's at 17. Oh, no. Yeah, I mean, he could take initiative. It doesn't really matter. So he'll be at 17. And he'll fire. So this is 5d6 if he hits. He hits, 5d6, 22 damage. And that is math, 83. Correct. Then it gets to go. It's going to try to overcome. Failed. Perfect. New round. Balance. Balance now doesn't take the initiative because she needs to be ready to cast the 3rd Logic Prison if he breaks out. And so in that case, I guess Truco also will not because it doesn't matter. So now he rolls again to overcome. 16, that's a 15. With 1 Bane, he might break out. He did. Damn. Yeah, -1 is not that big. So he's moving up 8 again. He's within 4. Technically, I think his reach is 4 as well. So if I am backing up, I have to retreat to avoid the free attack. But that's alright, that's his turn. So now Balance is going to cast her third Logic Prison. It's getting a little dicey here now. If he breaks out of this one, we're a little fucked. And she's gonna back up 5. So now she's at 9. She's at 9. And Truco was at... I think he was at 17 and then it moved 8. So he's also at 9. They're both at 9. That's easy. Okay, and Truco will fire again. Crit, whatever. 5d6. 16 damage. It's not amazing. It's not an amazing roll. 83 minus 16 is 67. New round. Still can't hit us if it breaks out. And we still have one True Love as a possibility. So we're going to let it go. And it rolls a 16. Which again, it needs a 6 on this d6. No, it's a 10. So it breaks out again. Fuck. It moves. And it's within 1 yard of us now. And that's... Well, it would be bad if that was the end of the round, because it has constricting coils. But it's not the end of the round. So she's going to go. And she's going to... No, we want him to go. Although he's within 1 as well. Now, we want her to go, get it to be our True Love, and then we back up to 20, I guess, and go from there. 15 or 20. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. Alright, yeah. She'll cast 1 True Love. It's an intellect versus its will, which is 13. Its will is actually not shit. So we're going to have to use Mage Implement here to cast a boon on it. Cast it with a boon. So this is +4 with 1 boon. Good, we got it regardless. So I can lose 2 health to get the casting back in case we want to do it again. And I'm inclined to do so. So we'll keep 1 True Love. Alright, so now it's, for 1 hour, it's just our friend. It's our ally. And so now we can freely reposition. So now we'll both go back to 20 yards, or 15 yards. Yes, 15 yards. And then, assuming that doesn't take that much time, that would just be like the next round. So everything should still be in place that was 1 minute long. And so now, oh yeah, we're supposed to make every roll with 1 boon. So I actually already had a boon on the 1 True Love. Oh well. So once at 15, Truco is going to fire off another shot. So new round. I mean, we're both taking the initiative. Truco's going to fire a shot. And he's got like 3 boons. He's probably going to need them. Actually, he cannot succeed. Most he can get is 13. Fuck. Do we count that? No, we don't count that unless you count it as something that finds objectionable. Well, I guess so. I didn't harm it, right? But does it count it as something objectionable? Did I miss because I actually missed the arrow? Or did the arrow collide with it, but it didn't make it through its scales or something, you know? Does it count it as objectionable? I think we probably just do a luck roll here to see if that counts. So straight up D20. All right, it didn't count. Thank goodness. We're going to tick by another round. And he'll do another shot. He rolled a 2. Again, not gonna hit. Another luck roll. Okay, still didn't count. Come on, Truco. Come on, man. Another round. Another shot. A 4. What the fuck? You can't succeed. All right, another luck roll. Okay, it still doesn't count. This is getting a little Looney Tunes for my taste. And our buffs and stuff, our debuffs are gonna wear off fairly soon here, I think. I haven't been keeping track of rounds. It's 10 rounds until that wears off. I don't remember when this started. But anyways, this is his next shot. Okay, it's a hit. Thank God. 5d6 damage. 22. Very solid hit. Is down to 45. Now, we're 15 yards back, right? We can move 5, and we'd be at 20. He can run. So that means that he can move 24, which is ridiculous. So I can't afford to... kite. But that's fine because of an existing rule that we have precedent for. And so balance on her turn. I mean, Truco will move back, of course, but balance on her turn is going to cast, of course, Force Barrier. Just kind of in the middle of the field, you know, like 10 yards away. So like 5 yards in front of this worm. And then she will also back up. So now we are both 20 yards away from this thing. And now we have to decide how much damage does this thing do colliding with the barrier. I'll tell you my first thought, and it's 4d6 damage. And that's because we did 1d6 for the size 1 orcs. And it seems only fair that a size 4 would do 4 times as much. I mean, right? This is not like a flexible... This isn't a glass wall. As long as it has at least 1 health, this force barrier is a fucking pure solid wall of force. Inflexible. Nothing gets through it. So, it's not going to shatter on impact unless we decide that him running into a wall does 40 damage. And I don't think we could, in good conscience, do that, considering his normal attacks do 4d6 damage. Otherwise, him running into stuff would just be by far better. So, I think 4d6, as if he did a normal attack, except this also deals damage to himself. I think it's fair. That's how I'd rule it. Feel free to disagree. So, he collides 5 yards ahead. So now he is currently going to be 15 yards away from us. And he ran because he felt he needed to run to catch up to us, which he did. And he takes 4d6, and the wall takes 4d6. 13 damage. So, no, 32. Okay. And the wall also is at 27. Okay. That's the round. New round. It's impossible, actually. Oh, we heal it for 1d6. It's impossible for him to break through the wall in one turn here, because he only does 4d6 damage. Oh, no, he makes a fang attack and a tail attack, so 7d6. What's the average on 7d6? 24-ish. It is possible for him to break through, but unlikely. If he breaks through, he can move another 8, which would put him at 7 yards from us. But that's fine, right? That's perfectly fine. So I think there's no case here where we take the initiative. So we're both gonna sit. And he goes. He does 7d6 to this wall in front of him, apparently. 21. So it's at 11. Then our turn. We can't shoot through the barrier. There's not a whole lot we can do except cast Baffling Pattern in the air behind us so that we don't see it. It's only at the start of its turn. Okay, yeah, I guess we'll do it that way. So Truco is going to back up 5 steps, 5 yards. So he's now 20 again. And then he's going to put the Baffling Pattern sort of just above his head, so he doesn't see it. But he puts it out there. And it's only active at the start of a creature's turn. And then Balance tells him to cover his ears again, because she's going to use Harmful Syllable. And she's going to shout, obviously. Nothing goes through the barrier, but sound can definitely go around the barrier. So I'm pretty sure that this thing would hear it. So it just takes 3d6 damage. 11. So it's at 21. It's probably getting close to the point where it would just fuck off and go back to his nice home where he devours everything. And yeah, I guess we should make a will save here, because it is a fresh round. What is that, 15? So we'll give him a will save to see if he leaves. He's got a +3. Okay, he definitely made his will save, so he definitely is sticking around to try and kill us. His turn, he's going to smash through the barrier. I don't think we really even have to roll. 31. Gone. And then he moves forward 8. So he's 12 yards from us. Now we both go. Yeah, I feel like some effects here would probably have worn off. This has to have been 10 rounds at least. With all those skipped rounds that I did. Yeah, I think we probably can nullify all our 1-minute stuff. So the brand is no longer on him. The Rune of War is no longer on him. And the armor is no longer in effect. This fight has gone on a while. So that means that when Truco fires, he'll be looking at just one boon, which is probably okay. Because he'll be doing 3d6. Alternatively, we do the Doll of Blasting. Yeah, fuck it. Let's do the Doll of Blasting. 2 charges. So I think we're within 15. No, we were at 12. We're at 12. We haven't moved yet. So he's going to use the Doll of Blasting and then move back. Not that it really matters at this point. We have to kind of kill him or to use another Force Barrier. Alright, so it's 2d6 damage guaranteed. 7, that's very average. And then it's going to be an attribute roll versus his agility. So we'll do our agility. +3 versus 12. Failure. So it's just the 2d6. And then Balance has to decide if she's going to use Force Barrier again. I hate to use the same cheesy tactics so much. I always like to mix things up a lot, but with only 2 characters, we kind of have to rely on the same tactics over and over. There's not a whole lot of variety available to us. I could risk just casting All-Consuming Fires of Hell, which would do technically 4d6 damage, which on average would kill it. But if it doesn't kill it, it's bad. It's pretty bad. No guts, no glory. No boons. But I can lose 2 health to turn it into a success, so it's a guaranteed hit. And yeah, it's perfectly average number. It would be exactly the number necessary on average to succeed. I guess we're rolling the luck die here, technically. We're taking the 50-50 average. So we're going to cast All-Consuming Fires of Hell. It's +4 versus his agility. It's a failure. So we are going to have to lose 2 more health. Small price for her to pay. And now 3d6 damage. 13. Perfect. Guaranteed dead. Although the order of operations here are a little murky. He is on fire. We moved back 5. So we're at 17 now. He goes. He runs. So he can't attack. But he has Scale Scrape. When he stops moving after moving at least 2 yards, each enemy within 1 yard of it makes an agility roll, taking 2d6 damage, becoming vulnerable until the end of the round. So I think that's going to happen. Truco rolls his agility. He's fine. And Balance rolls her agility. She's also fine. So that's good. Now comes end of the round. That's very murky. Extremely murky. When does Oh wait, there was a monster called a Deep Worm? Oh, difficulty 32. No, that's like a Great Devouring Worm or something. That's for much later. Order of operations for end of round effects. Because two things are happening here. One is his sort of constricting coils, and the second is his fire damage. So I don't know who gets to decide. Is it beneficial to whom? So on and so forth. Doesn't say there. Let me keep looking. This definitely could come up in play, so we want to get a firm answer here about end of round effects. End of the round. Certain effects occur or are resolved at the end of the round. First, the sage handles all combatants not controlled by the players. Each combatant resolves all harmful effects first, and then any remaining effects. Then the players do the same for their characters, after which combat continues to start of another round. All harmful effects first. You know, I gotta say, that's not as helpful as I would like, because both of these are harmful. So it's up to the DM, I guess, to decide. Does this thing take fire damage first, or does he do constrictive coils? Let's see if it even matters, I guess. That would be something to look at. Okay, so we'd each make an agility roll with one Bane. On a failure, we become held until the Great Serpent dies. And basically, if it was the next round, we'd lose 4d6 health and become weakened because we were already held. So no, it does not matter in this case. And I think you might argue that's not a harmful effect, technically. Either way, irrelevant. He takes his whatever, however much damage, 4 damage, and he's dead. Dead. Whew. Okay. That was a bit of a nail biter there. I thought it was going to be way easy, but he really did quite well on his fucking intellect overcome rolls, even though he was intellect impaired. With a -1. I don't know. He rolled well. But we have enough control and decent amount of damage. It didn't matter. Okay, then comes the unfortunate matter of digging into this thing and getting the gullet pearl. And that's, of course, Truco's job. So he's going to pull out his hatchet and just start working at it. And that'll take some time. But I don't think there's really a chance of failure here, so he'll get it. And now Balance has to put together the second ritual using the pearl to cleanse the area of this curse. And that'll probably take some more time. So we'll head back to town and rest. Which means I'm going to recover 1d6 health. 1, so that's at 11. Whoop, 11. And we recover any spells we use. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Good. Good, 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 good. Yes. Now, we know that the priest is going to get involved here at some point. Especially because the other cultists said that they were going to take care of us, and we're still around. You know, we're still wandering through town and stuff. So he's going to get involved, and I think probably the best time for him to do so is when we go conduct the ritual. So the following day, things are looking pretty bleak for the village, but we're here to save the day. And Balance has gathered together whatever materials she needs otherwise. She has the gullet pearl. And the two head out into the farms, into the fields nearby, and begin casting the ritual. Which is probably a noticeable thing. There's, magical lights or something. Who knows what? It's a visible thing. And the village begins to gather. And that's when Father Bastion makes his vocal appearance here. Outraged. Asking what they're doing. And he probably would try and steer it towards, like, blasphemy. Like, what we're doing is blasphemy against Grandfather Tree. And try and rally the villagers into, like, stopping us, to get them on his side. That seems fairly unlikely. Especially because our heroes, the heroes of the village, would be very quick to point at Father Bastion as being an evil cultist that planted the curse here in the first place. And, we say that we discovered their headquarters in a mansion nearby and we wiped them out. And now we're putting an end to this curse once and for all. And I think the villagers would be quite inclined to believe these two, because they've done a lot of good so far, whereas Father Bastion's just talked a lot. I don't think he had enough time to really sway everybody to his side. Especially because the effects of the curse are not really looking beneficial too much. So I think he's going to attack. I think he's going to try and put a stop to this directly before things go too far. And, I'm just looking over his stats here, because I said that he was also a cult priest, which makes sense. So he's difficulty 4 creature, and as lame as it is, and this would be a lot different if there were 6 characters here, this would be not much of a situation, but as it is, I was going to say that Balance is too busy conducting the ritual. She can't participate. So this is Truco versus a difficulty 4 creature, which isn't ridiculous, but he'll have to step it up here. So we need a range. I need a range band. Encounter distance. Yeah, I don't know. How would I do this? I don't think the villagers got too close because they were a little wary. Let's just say 20. It's always a good number. So I'm going to say 20 yards. All right, so Father Bastion pulls from his robes a sword. And combat clearly initiates as Balance says, I can't assist. I have to finish the ritual. So Truco, he's drawing his sword and his hatchet. He might draw his bow. It probably is better for him to draw his bow first. But it makes more sense that he would not have any weapon out. So we'll do it that way. Not that big of a deal, but no, he's got no weapon out. Combat starts. Truco will, We need the reaction for Cruelest Burning. So I don't think he's going to take the initiative. So that means the priest is then going to move. He's going to run, right? Yeah, he's going to charge at him. So that's 15. So they're 5 yards apart now. It's Truco's turn. Truco's going to spend 2 yards of movement to pull out his bow. He's then going to move 3 yards back. Then, as an action, he's going to fire. And this is just going to be with 1 boon. Against defense 10, apparently. This guy's just wearing robes. Alright, well, we crit. So this is with our reaction to put Cruel's Burning on him. And we'll make him, I wouldn't have access to his stat sheet, I guess. So I'll just make him strength impaired. And this will do 5d6 damage. No, wait a minute. No, 4d6. I don't have Rune of War on, so just 4d6. 16 damage. So that puts him at 44 health. A good opener. And he's got the brand on, so that's that. Okay, then it's a new round. Now Truco's going to take the initiative again. Move back another 5. This is dumb, by the way, and as a DM, I should really punish it, because he probably wants to just kill Balance, who's sitting there next to him. So maybe I shouldn't be moving back. This would have been clearer if I had put it on a grid, but I forgot. So let's pretend I never moved back. So he was 5 yards away. And he fired. So now, new round. I can't pull out my weapons and attack. So that would be 4 yards of movement. Maybe 6 yards of movement to get all the shit changed. Oh, unless I drop but my bow. That's still 4 yards of movement. But if I don't engage with this guy, he's gonna attack Balance. So I have to get involved. I don't think I'm going to take the initiative then. We want to dodge whatever attack he does. So I'm going to let him go. And now for his turn. He's going to cast Grasping Tentacle. He tears a hole in reality, releasing a tentacle to ravage a foe. One enemy within 10 yards, make a +4 will roll with 1 boon against the creature's agility. On a success, target takes 4d6 damage and becomes held luck ends. Each time it makes a luck roll, to end the affliction, it loses 1d6 health. Great. So, obviously, we're going to use dodge. So that turns it into a +4 with 1 bane versus my 13. He succeeds, unfortunately. Can't dodge that. So 4d6 damage and held luck ends. That's pretty shitty. This might be the end of Truco. 4d6, 16 damage. I got no reaction, so I can't use Swift Recovery. Whoops. We have 2 health left. We're at 16. And we're held luck ends. And as soon as we try to make a luck roll, we lose 1d6 health. But we can overcome it with a success on a strength or agility roll. But that's our whole turn. So now it's Truco's turn. If he doesn't make this roll for overcoming, he's basically dead. So I guess that's what we're gonna do. That's our action. We've already spent our reaction. So, yes. All right, that's a 10. Yep, that's just barely good enough. So I am no longer held. Then I will move up 5 yards, and I'll be next to him, and that's everything I can do. Then it's the end of the round, so he has to roll to see if he gets back Grasping Tentacle, which he does. Okay. This is pretty bad. I'm likely dead because yeah, that hit way too hard. If he had just gone in with his short sword, it wouldn't be anything. But now he can cast another Grasping Tentacle. Which is really quite absurd. Really quite absurd. I don't know if we... I'm trying to just see about, what it considers to be a ranged attack for the purposes of, like, a Bane on your roll. It just says, if you make a ranged attack while in the reach of at least one enemy, you roll with 1 Bane. Yeah, I don't know if that includes spell casting or magical abilities or something. I don't think so. I think it's strictly just ranged weapon attacks. So he doesn't need to back up, but he also could with no consequences, because I have a bow out still, unfortunately. That was a mistake. So I can't take free attacks with it. He could just move 5 yards back, use Grasping Tentacle. And then even if it misses, I still, like, I just can't get my melee weapons out and keep up with them. I have to, like, waste a turn. Oh, fuck. I think I did myself in here. I could take the initiative, use Swift Recovery, and that would put me at 8 damage out of 18. And I could also move up to my speed while slippery, and then move another 5, but that would just put me still in range of Grasping Tentacle, and nothing's gonna stop that. We want to be next to him, and we want him to not move. So maybe he'll be cocky. I don't know. If I'm gonna be nice as a DM, I guess. So let's say we don't take the initiative. He just stands there and casts Grasping Tentacle on me, and I dodge. So this is +4 with 1 Bane. Alright, he failed. He probably still would move, but again, I have a bow out, so maybe he'll just think this is where he wants to be. So then it's my turn. I don't have a reaction, but I have an action and move. So I'm gonna drop my bow and pull out my sword and hatchet, and then swing. He's got the brand on. So this is potentially 5d6 if I hit. And we get a boon. I definitely hit. And I crit. I sure do. So slashing gives us another D6 here. It's pretty big. 26 damage. That'll put the fear of God in him. So that puts him at 18. And that's the round. Then he gets to roll and see if he gets tentacles back. He does. I take the initiative, of course. And I'm going to swing again. Trickery. Not a crit. Can't crit, unfortunately. So it's just 5d6. 18 damage. Dead. Now, yes. Okay. Fine. If I was going to play it intelligently, of course he would have kept his distance and been at 10 yards perpetually, because he just constantly had Grasping Tentacle available, and it would have easily just slaughtered me. But that's a small concession that I made for Truco to solo a difficulty 4 creature. So, you know what? It's more exciting this way than Truco just dying and then Balance just sitting there and also dying. In reality, I probably should have set like a number of rounds that she had until she finished. So then Truco just kind of had to hold out. And yeah, I don't know if I was going to actually run this idea for a group. I mean, if it was a group of 6, I guess I'd probably have him transform again into some big creature. I don't know. Something like that, maybe. But yeah, he died. And he was clearly an evil cult member because he's throwing around his tentacles and stuff. And Balance finishes the ritual and cleanses the land of the curse, which is all good. And we're heroes. We are they're gonna build fucking statues of us. It's great. If this wasn't worth any money, because they're all poor as shit and they don't have anything, but it was great. And I'd probably throw another oddity out there for on Father Bastion's body, because oddities are fun and cool. So let's roll another oddity. Do I still have that table up? I sure do. All right, let's roll another oddity. Miscellaneous. So he's got some like little bauble or a paperweight. And it's a paperweight of... The owner becomes cursed as long as it possesses the oddity and cannot rid itself of it until its level increases. While cursed in this way, the owner makes attribute rolls with 1 boon while not injured and 1 bane while injured. Okay, I mean, technically, we're leveling up right now. But we'll say that that takes effect now at level 3. Also, I'm going to ditch this maid uniform because that's way beneath her now. That's an offense to her to even have it on her. So we're just going to give this paperweight of paperweight of potential. I basically have run out of text here. But that means now she makes all her rolls with 1 boon as long as she's not injured. And she rarely takes damage, so it's pretty fucking good. Now, in reality, if you're gonna, I'll just tell you, if you're gonna be a DM, and you're gonna do stuff like this where enemies have certain magic items on them, they need to have the magic items. As in, he should have had that effect on him. This is especially important if it's a really noticeable effect, if it's not just like a statistical thing like that. But yeah, if it's something that like he can use, or if it's a special weapon or special armor, you need to mention that during the combat. Partly because then it gets kind of players interested and curious and it keeps them on their toes, but also then it's like, if he had this, why wasn't he using it, you know? Which, yeah, I mean, that certainly could have changed the fight, because then dodge would not have been as good. I don't think it actually would have impacted anything, I believe. So thankfully it didn't matter. But yeah. Anyways. Okay. That's it. We're heroes. And I said that when we resolve the whole cult situation and the curse situation, I would level up to level 3. So we're going to do it. Which means this will now take a while. That's okay. We got time. So level 3 means expert path. And we have to kind of decide the direction that we want to go here. So here's all the expert paths. There's our whole selection. So what do we want for Truco? What do we want narratively, and what do we want mechanically? Narratively, I could see him as being something of like a protector, you know, for balance. He recognizes that that's kind of his role here. It's kind of always been his role. Not that she needs protection specifically, but something to just be more of a front line between her and whatever nonsense they're dealing with. Which would probably point him more towards the paths of battle. I could see him as a gladiator. I could see him as a swashbuckler. I could see him as a myrmidon. But that would be very much no magic, if we don't want him to be involved in magic a whole lot beyond what he has already. That's okay. I mean, it's fine, because, you know, I know we did this, and we're doing this because I want to stretch the utility aspects of the system. Which is funny, because mostly all we've been doing is just combat. But I mean, it's a high fantasy RPG. Most of what you're going to do is combat. Especially solo, because I'm not going to get involved with, like, politics, you know, or diplomatic matters within a big city, or, you know, we're not going to be doing that. So mostly what we're doing is dangerous stuff that involves hostile opponents. It's just like if I wanted to do some sort of heist or something, or like when we try and capture something. But yeah. Okay, so those would be 3 that I'd look at for battle. Faith. Yeah, I mean, you could always go for a paladin or something like that. If we wanted to go pretty melee, but with just a touch of maybe some magic. He is involved in symbolism, so there is that. I don't think we're going to go any sort of path of power with him. That doesn't really feel right. And then the path of skill. There's the spell fighter that has some potential. There's warlock, but I'm not going to pick that for narrative reasons. Scout actually probably has the most, well, more narrative potential. He does do a lot of sneaking around with his bow. So we could go Scout, but I'm probably leaning towards either... I'm probably leaning towards Myrmidon. So let's take a look at Myrmidon. If we skip over the flavor text. Here you go. So he'd get +2 natural defense, +12 health, +1d6 bonus damage. He would just get a longsword, longbow, and a sword. And he makes rolls to attack with those 3 weapons with 1 boon and deal an extra 1d6 damage with all 3 of those. He can also make a guarded attack with these weapons without having to have a shield equipped. That seems like an absurd amount of dual wielding damage. Except sword is not an offhand weapon, right? pretty certain sword is not an offhand weapon, so you can't dual wield those without the dual wield or fighting style. Yeah, it's just a one-handed thing, so it's kind of redundant. But the longsword is slow compared to the sword. And again, like we said initially, the only benefit of the longsword really is if you're planning to two-hand it. But if he two-hands the longsword, if that was what he wanted to do, I mean, you're talking about a lot of damage now with trickery. And bonus damage. That would be 3d6, 4d6, 5d6, 6d6. And then if he has Rune of War, 7d6 at level 3 on every attack. It's pretty freaking good. Longbow also pretty solid damage on that, because now that would be 66, I think, with Rune of War. 66 from range 20. Not too shabby at all. He also would get Sidestep Strike. Use a reaction when you wear no armor, and a creature you can see gets a success on a roll to attack you to make a luck roll. On a success, turn it into a failure. Okay, so they're kind of intended to be unarmored. Which, yeah, you'd probably want some sort of magic to help you out with that. Because he's not going to be imposing any banes on anybody by default. Not until level 4. Then he would impose 1 bane on rolls to attack him. So no armor. Obviously, it's a little risky as it sounds. His natural defense is 11, so plus 2. He would actually be now at 13 defense, so he would get a bump up. Do you count shields as armor? I'm sure many players ask. Shields are technically not in the armor column. So, no, I don't think they count as armor. I don't think they count as armor. So if he wanted to go for a shield instead of two-handing his longsword, which is probably what I'd do, he'd be at 15 defense. Which isn't insane at level 3. Certainly not. But it's alright. And he would have Sidestep Strike. The thing with Sidestep Strike is it's a reaction. And that means you specifically would not declare dodge beforehand. And I feel like using dodge is 9 times out of 10 the correct option. So I want to say for now, it's probably better for him to still have armor on. I don't think we're going to use Sidestep Strike all that much. Once he hits 4 and he gets the Bane on everything when wearing no armor, then it's kind of like a perpetual dodge. So then it's probably better. Almost certainly better. Yeah, I could look at a lot of other things, and we could look at a lot of spell options and so on and so forth, but I think we're just going to go with Myrmidon. I think it's a fun one. And it sort of fits his style of range attack, also melee if need be. So increase 2 attributes by 1 each. We're just going to go strength and agility. Keep everything nice and even. His natural defense goes up by 2 to 13. So with his leather armor currently, yep, that means it's a 14. He gets 1d6 bonus damage. He gains a longsword, longbow, and sword. Okay, so I guess we're ditching the hatchet. And we're ditching the bow. And we're just going to go longsword and longbow. Attack with longbow. Longsword, sword with 1 boon. Deal extra 1d6. You can make a guarded attack without having a shield. What is a guarded attack, you ask? I mean, that's a fine question. I'm just going to bring up my reference sheet, because it'll tell me. Guarded attack. If you succeed on the roll to hit, you don't apply your weapon damage, only your bonus damage, which for him is not very good. But you impose 1 Bane on the next roll to hit against you until the start of your next turn. It'd be that specific kind of situation where you really don't want to get hit, but you have to be in melee, and you're hoping that your allies can bring the damage while the target focuses on you. I don't imagine I'll use it a whole lot, but it's there. We also get Side Step Strike. I don't know why it's called a strike. Luck ends. Alright. We also got 12 extra health, bumping him up to 30, which is a pretty fine number. Alright, that is Truco, level 3, the Myrmidon. Fun, fun, fun. Yeah, I mean, he was never going to go into spells heavily. We just like to explore a little bit, and Rune of War is still going to be good for a long time. And Brand of Cruel's Burning. Throw that in there, you're talking 8d6 with his two-handed longsword. Pretty good! Alright. Next is Balance. What is she gonna go for, of all things? She has a lot of options. We want to take something pretty dark. Now, of the Paths of Power, I believe Sorcerer is the darkest, or a Black Witch. So those are probably what we're looking at. There's also Warlock under the Path of Skill, but I don't know if we want to go for that. Alright, so the Sorcerer. She's going to get another Tradition, 2 Expert spells, and she can conjure an evil spirit from the Netherworld. It's a ritual, takes 10 minutes. Reveals a monstrous entity. Spirit remains until the circle is broken, until it performs 1 service for you, or until you use an action to dismiss it. If the circle is broken, the spirit deals 3d6 damage to you, and then both it and the circle disappear. When the spirit appears inside the circle, roll 3d6s. You can use the numbers rolled singly or combine 2 or 3 of them to produce a higher number. Following list tells you what reward a particular number grants you. Okay. So this is once per day. You can get one or more of these effects. So the most basic effect, just using one of the numbers as a 1, increases your health by 3 for the rest of the day. Beyond that, grant you additional casting of a novice spell you know. Grant you knowledge of 1 magical talent from any tradition. From any tradition. Any tradition, not even ones you've discovered, just anything. Boy, that's got to be annoying for a DM. It's like, oh, well, let me look through every fucking talent in the game that's going to match my specific situation right now. It's like, okay, go home and come back to me. Name 1 creature for which you have a drop of blood, bit of skin or nail, or lock of hair. If the creature is named is within 100 miles, it becomes cursed until after your next rest. Grants you knowledge and casting of 1 novice spell of your choice from any tradition. That's even more ridiculous. For the rest of the day, you just get 1 novice spell from any tradition that matches your current situation. Jesus. But we're starting to get into the 7 to 8, so this is going to require at least 2 of your 3d6s. 9 to 10, you can ask the spirit 1 question about a specific person, place, or thing. The question must pertain to something about the nature of the thing, its history, or its capabilities. Spirit offers a true answer if it has one. If it doesn't know the answer, it admits as much. Are we just assuming the spirit knows practically everything? 11. One expert spell from any tradition. Good lord. That's really good. 12 to 13. So this would require 2 6s or all 3 of your dice. Doubles the number of castings you have for an expert or novice spell you know until after you rest. 14 to 15 provides you with any item of equipment whose price is 25 gold or less. The object has a sinister appearance and has no value to buyers. It disappears after you rest. Yeah, you know, there's possibility there, I suppose. It would get you full plate armor if you wanted that for somebody. It would also potentially get you a pistol or a musket if you wanted. Pretty much any kit that you could think of. Spyglass, gas masks, you know, any sort of toolkit. Depends on what the DM is considering equipment. Obviously, it's not everything in the equipment chapter, because that includes, like, animals and hirelings. Maybe it would also include consumables and trinkets. It disappears after you rest. So if you're going to ask and use this whole thing, this big ritual, your once per day thing, to get serpent rope or a skeleton key, it's like, I don't know. I guess let them have it. But at that same time, they could ask for a master level spell inscription or scroll. I don't know if that's what they intend. If you do an 18 on this chart, you do get a master spell. And asking for a master tier inscription at this point is actually kind of shitty. Because if you don't know the spell, you have to make an intellect roll. With 1 Bane if the spell is of a tier lower than yours, with 1 Bane if the spell is a higher tier. So it'd be an intellect roll with 1 Bane just to cast it. And you could fail that. And then you possibly could have a mishap, which would be pretty bad. So, you know, but I don't know. It might never come up. You can cause a target creature anywhere, I guess, if you have a piece of him, to lose 3d6 health. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. It disappears after you rest. It disappears after your next rest. Your next rest is when you rest. There's clearly a difference intended between those two phrases, but disappearing after you rest and disappearing after your next rest, to me, that's the same thing. Like, if I were to say today, right now, like, I'll do it after I go to bed. Compared to I'll do it after the next time I go to bed. That's referring to the same activity. I was just really confused by number 17, because it says it provides you with a weapon, suit of armor, or piece of gear worth no more than 1 gold piece. It disappears after your next rest. When 14 to 15 says any item of equipment whose price is 25 gold or less, it disappears after your rest. So I think it's intended for your next rest to be the following one. But it's very strange. And then 18 is master spell. Any master spell. So having access to a master spell at level 3 is pretty ludicrous, but very unlikely to occur. I think it's interesting. I think it's a little hard to plan around. I mean, you don't have to. The spirit remains until the circle is broken, until it performs one service for you, or until you use an action to dismiss it. So I guess it sticks around for as long. It just sticks around for quite a while. So you could cast it in the morning at a location and then just let it sit there until you're like, oh, I guess we could use this effect. Let me go back to my evil spirit and talk to him. It's a little strange. Level 4, you get Sorcerous Blast, which is just a range 15 at will 3d6 damage, which is fine. It's okay, I guess. Not something I'm super excited about. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, and then the Witch, the Black Witch. So they get Witchcraft to produce a harmless magical effect of your choice. Can be anything you imagine, but it can't replicate any other spell or magical talent. Can't harm creatures or objects. Lasts no longer than 1 minute. So it's prestidigitation. Great. You also get your Path of Witchcraft. We'd pick Black Magic, probably. Whenever you deal damage to a single creature from a magical effect you create, the creature takes an extra 1d6 damage. So it's single target, but all our single target spells do an extra 1d6. Well, you can use this a number of times equal to your level. So 3 times per day, extra 1d6, which how often am I casting single target damage spells? It's mostly just all-consuming fires of hell, bumping that up to 4d6. It's okay. Gray magic. Whenever you make an attribute roll as part of a magical effect you create, you make the roll with 1 boon. It's probably better. It's probably even better. And then they also get Witchfire, which is a fucking at-will within 10, dealing 4d6 damage, and on crit, they catch fire. And you can use that at will, which makes it practically better than all-consuming fires of hell in most situations. Alright. I think we'll go with Witch. It's fine. We'll go with Witch. It's good enough. Witch. So increase 2 attributes by +1 each. Obviously, intellect. Go up to 15 there. And we'll bump her agility. Nah, we'll go into will a little bit. Just a little bit. And then +4 health. That puts her at 18. She gets another language. I don't really care. She gets another tradition and 2 expert spells. Yeah. Well, do we want to take another tradition, or do I want to take a separate talent? I don't think I want another tradition. Yeah, we're just gonna take, see, run out of text here, man. I'm just gonna take Orderly Mind. Twice per day. And confused, controlled, stunned, intellect, or will impaired. It's not a reaction, it literally just ends it as soon as you get it. Pretty handy, I think. And she can actually use this now twice per rest, certain outcome. I don't think anything else really scales much beyond talents. Evocation. Yep, evocated Word of Breaking is now 2d6. And we actually get more castings of all these spells. So that now becomes 2 and 2. Pretty good. And that's probably it. Yes. Okay. So now we get 2 expert spells. Obviously, I'm looking at evocation because I think it's very fun. So now these, the expert ones, don't... No, I guess they do kind of scale as well. So Binding Utterance causes targets within the same radius and everything. Make a will roll with 3 Banes if you shout. On the failure, they become held, luck ends. Okay, it's not terrible. Frightful Utterance, similar. Will roll, possible Banes. Target becomes frightened of you for 1 minute, or until it overcomes the affliction with a success on a will roll. Killing Utterance is basically just upgraded Harmful Syllable. It's like exactly the same, except it's 3d6, 4d6, 5d6. And you start with 2 castings of it at level 3. So, yeah, that's good. I wonder if allowing people to plug their ears is like breaking the balance here. Painful Utterance. Will roll. Weakened luck ends. Stunning Utterance. Stunned until the end of your next turn. Wrathful Utterance. Okay, so targets roll to attack with 1 boon, and its attacks deal an extra 1d6 damage if you whisper, 2 if you spoke, 3 if you shouted. Target regards all other creatures as enemies. It's basically a better Hateful Syllable. And if you shout for 1 minute, no save ever. No save at all. Everything within 60 yards that hears you treats every other creature in sight as enemies. Rolls with 1 extra boon and deals extra 3d6 damage. This is just insane! I almost want to take 2 spells here because they're both so freaking good. But I also want to... There's so many spells. There's a lot of spells. I mean, look at this. Expert Dark Arts spells. Part bone from flesh. Target takes 66 damage, then a will roll against target's strength. On a success, they take an extra 66. On a crit, they take an extra 12d6. If the damage incapacitates them, it dies, and at the end of the round, an animated skeleton pulls itself free from the corpse and stands up. Treats all other creatures as enemies. The only problem with that is it's range 5, which isn't very good. Boy, man, there's some fucking good spells here. Freedom Delusion. Causes target to become cursed for 1 minute. And every time it takes a turn within 10 yards of you, it either has to be controlled by you until the end of the round or take 4d6 damage. There's some pretty good ones here, man. We could get our own Vile Tentacles. Vivisection. Up to 3 creatures in 1 size 3 space within 10. Each target takes 4d6 damage, makes a strength roll with 1 bane. On a failure, taking an extra 4d6 damage. Critical, extra 8d6 damage. And you can choose to lose 4 health to regain the expended casting. Okay, I mean, there's some good spells here, man. I don't know. I could sit here all day. Because, you know, you could take any other tradition you want and look at all those expert spells. So I could make a forced platform with order, lasts for 8 hours, and I can move the platform with my mind up to 8 yards horizontally or 2 yards vertically at the start of my turn. So that would allow us to fly, essentially. I mean, for 8 hours, you can get a lot of places. 8 yards horizontally. That's, you know, we move at 5 yards walking. So it's faster than walking, and we can go anywhere. It's pretty good. It's not super big. It's a size 3 space. So 3 yards by 3 yards. But still, it's really, I mean, if you want to talk utility, that's kind of nice. There's a lot of things. I'm going to take Force Platform because it's kind of exactly the sort of thing that I would find uses for. We're running out of text here, though. Running out of room. 1 size 3 space within 5. 8-hour platform. 1 inch thick. It's invisible, apparently. That seems dangerous. How do I know that it exists? Defense equal to half intellect. Health 50. Move at start of turn. If you're not confused, controlled, stunned, or unconscious. Blah, blah, blah. 8 yards horizontally. 2 yards vertically. Well, all the text is there. Blah, blah, blah. And then I gotta take an evocation spell. One of these two is just too good. So we either want a better harmful syllable or a better hateful syllable. And yeah, those are pretty much the best options. I feel like Wrathful Utterance just ends so many fucking encounters. So, yeah, I gotta take it. And we get 2 castings. As if you, like, yes, I want to annihilate 2 entire enemy camps this day. Oh, feel free. Now, these expert spells, the only difference is they do require an action. The novice ones don't require one, but these do. So, just to note. Size 3, 10, 60. Creatures. Treat all other creatures as enemies for 1 minute. No. This would never happen, but until end of next turn if you whispered, or 1 minute if you speak or shout. Yeah, obviously I'm always gonna be fucking shouting. Maybe there'd be a time where you'd speak, but come on. Come on. Roll with 1 boon. Heal extra 1d6, 2d6, 3d6. that's it. Wrathful Utterance. Pretty freaking good. All right, and that's it. Oh, no, we got Witchcraft, which I'm just going to write Prestidigitation. And then Gray Magic we're going with. She's not fully evil. She's not black magic. She's got order. She's not black-hearted yet. She's in the gray area. She does good things. Whenever you make an attribute roll as part of a magical effect you create, make the roll with 1 boon. And now we are good. All right. She's 3. They're both 3. At this point, where would we go from here if I wanted to continue this generic Hexcrawl? We're kind of done with the village, even though we haven't gotten a lot of money. We have a decent amount of money. We could go to the big city. I guess that's probably where I'd go. I would go to the big city. That was kind of our goal from the start. And I think it's time. We're prepared. We've learned a lot. We've gotten some money, some goods. We'd probably go to the city to see if we can make our fortune there. So we'd trek across the wilderness. Maybe stop at that village there, which just says Oracle. I'm not quite sure what that all means. But we'll probably just roll up a rural village here. Because now we're visitors, so they'll have a current pressing problem and something to interact with and offer us. And then on to the big city to do something. We'll roll up a major city and maybe roll up some random quests and go from there. Yeah, I feel pretty freaking capable, I gotta say. We can do quite a lot now. And that's what I keep trying to drill into my family's head over and over, is just the power of magic. You're in a high fantasy game. Fucking magic. It's too good. You can do potentially anything. You own this world as being an adventurer capable of casting magic spells. It's your world. Live in it. I don't know. But I think that's good for now. So, my name is Mang. This has been Solo Roll Manging, Shadow of the Weird Wizard, generic Hexcrawl number 6279. See you fine folks in the next part.